And tonight on the Daily Wrap, China, currently the chief suspect in that massive hack of U.S. government computers, now being treated as a national security matter. But how did this happen? The details coming up. Hillary Clinton says Republicans are trying to keep millions of Americans from voting. But now GOP candidates, they're firing back, and it ain't pretty. And Disney goes on a firing spree of hundreds of employees to make room for immigrant workers. We have an in-depth debate coming up. We discuss all of that, plus potluck, yay or nay. Great show tonight. This is the Daily Wrap live from New York City. And welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, along with my co-host. He is a Sirius XM radio host and senior political commentator and columnist for Forbes. You are Rick Unger.
I am.
How's it going?
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's all good.
To his right, Philly attorney and America's pundit, Heather Hansen, is back looking good in burgundy. I'm going to guess that color.
Look at you with the colors.
And finally, Forbes.com contributor, he is Bill Tucker. How are you, Bill?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Contributor.
I got to be honest, it was such a short introduction, I expected more. And I just, is that it? There is more, trust me. All right, it's time for the Daily Download. All right, well, that massive cyber attack by suspected Chinese hackers is now being investigated as a national security matter. The hackers broke into U.S. government computers, possibly compromising the personal data of 4 million current and former federal employees. We're even seeing reports tonight that number could be higher. While the investigation is focused on China, it's unclear whether the Chinese government or private citizens acting independently were responsible. Today, the White House said the FBI is trying to determine who's to blame.
They are working actively to understand exactly the scope of this particular intrusion, but also to determine who is responsible and to make sure that we can take steps that are necessary to hold the individuals who are responsible for this incident.
Now, the Chinese embassy in Washington, they say that we're jumping to conclusions and, quote, the Chinese are not responsible, and this is counterproductive as far as the blame game is concerned. Revelations of the massive security breach come one day after it was revealed the Obama administration had secretly expanded NSA powers to include snooping on America's internet activity overseas, on websites and so on. The Justice Department says the move is necessary to thwart foreign hackers. So let's bring in national security intelligence expert. He is Josh Katz. Josh was a senior policy advisor for counterterrorism and intelligence and is currently the managing partner at the Enright Group. Josh, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So first question, pretty blunt, pretty simple. Is this an act of war?
We have been involved in a cyber war for years. We just haven't called it that. This is a multi-front cyber war. China is a main actor, but there are other states, nation states, there are other groups that are involved in this. We just need to call it what it is. Yes, we're involved in an ongoing global cyber war.
Hey, Josh, Rick Unger. I suspect that you're absolutely right when you say that, which raises a question to me. We've all been focused on what you do to respond to this kind of an attack, and I think the best response is to do it back to them, but maybe 10% worse. But, the one thing that I think about is it at all possible that what the Chinese did was a response to maybe something that we did to them?
This is, something we're probably going to discuss for a long time to come. But I would say that this is a government of China sponsored event. The government of China won't allow people to walk down the street if they don't want them to. So we shouldn't make any mistake that this was a government of China event. That this is going to happen again. It has happened. And I think that we are not doing nearly enough. Not doing nearly enough first to defend ourselves, but then not doing enough to go on the offensive here.
I'll continue then. So how do we know that, Josh? I know that you've been in positions to know what we do. My suspicion is that it's pretty tough to defend ourselves because as soon as we improve our technology, the hackers have a way of getting out in front of you in no time. So isn't it a matter of trying to teach those who would do this, who would attack us in this way, a lesson by doing it back to them? And if that is the right answer, do you really know that we're not doing it already?
We're doing it in a limited capacity. We're not doing it against the Chinese like we should be. And I think it's because of fear. The administration, and we've seen this time and time again, Rick, the administration is very fearful of the response from China. And they have used a lot of words like the president has said that he and the Chinese premier have seen eye to eye. Yeah, they see eye to eye, especially as the Chinese are reaching their hands into our cookie jar. That's going and it's going to continue. This is a major issue.
Josh, it's Heather Hansen here. What do you think about the NSA surveillance of the interactions, the web interactions that we heard about today? Do you think that that is really helpful in preventing this type of thing? And if it is, then how did this get by it?
It's not helpful because I think, as Rick alluded to, when we go on the offensive here, one of the major defenses in the cyber world is to go on the offensive. To keep when you keep the hackers guessing and you keep them sort of on their toes. That's as good of a defense as we can do. But also, we have to understand here the Chinese have lots and lots of manpower behind them, and this is. We cannot confront that based on our limited resources now. Does that mean that surveillance is the key? Having done things with surveillance before, it's not. And I think in this case, it's probably a little bit misplaced. It's really not going to defend us like we need.
Hey, Josh, I read a story today that was talking about how since these are personal computers of federal employees, that it could reveal passwords or sensitive information for even weapon systems. Why would we're not at war with the Chinese. I don't think we're necessarily friendly with them. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what the relationship is, but what exactly are they trying to gain from all of this?
This is a new tool in an age-old craft called espionage. Right? The Chinese here are gathering as much information as they can about our personnel, our weapon systems, looking for vulnerabilities. Passwords, as you described, are key in continuous penetrations of our system. And I think it's important for us to know that the next president of the United States is probably going to be the first president who we can guarantee has had all of their personnel information stolen. So all of their health records, all of their emails, private servers or not, they are going to be. They have already been targeted. They will continue to be targeted, and the next president will be incredibly vulnerable because of that.
Josh, we'll have to end it there, but thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your expertise.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so panel, let me clarify. Obviously, we're not at war with China, or else we'd be lights out, and no reason to move on.
We're not in a cyber war.
Right, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah. I wanted to clarify that all of this going on back and forth. I'm just curious again what Josh explained it to me pretty well, but what the Chinese is trying to gain and what's going on here exactly. Like I'm trying to simplify for people at home. Why is this important? I think is the question I'm trying to ask.
Well, clearly they want some insight into our country. It's really worrisome. About a week ago, 14 people were indicted for Chinese nationals, were indicted for taking exams to get into universities here so that they could get their visas. You've got maternity tourism in California that is, a number of people were indicted for coming here to have children. All of this is extremely worrisome. Now they're collecting data on millions of Americans. It's a real problem, and it goes even further, I think, than espionage.
See, the one thing that we ran out of time, unfortunately, with Josh, but I would have pushed back a little bit. Just because President Obama says, oh, we see eye to eye and we're great buddies and all this, we already know that doesn't stop us from spying on the Chinese. I promise you we're spying on the Chinese.
We spy on the Germans and the Israelis.
Just as they're spying on us. So what I'm very curious about is how far we've gone in terms of launching, attacks on their cyber systems. We may not be doing enough. We may not be doing any. I have no way of knowing. But I do kind of wonder. I have a funny feeling that we aren't sitting around just getting attacked and not firing back.
Couldn't agree more. Bill, last word, 20 seconds.
Well, all of this is why I own shares of computer security companies. This is the reality that we live in. And the reason they're doing it is they want to compromise our systems. They want to know where our weaknesses are. And the more information they can gather, fine. But now they understand our weakness and how to get it.
And we may also know theirs.
Yeah, you got to tell me those stock tips, by the way, because that's a good investment. Anyway, more Daily Wrap in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.